As a quick precursor to this episode, I would love to invite you to attend the autumn edition of my in-person event, Dare Greatly in the Coaching Arena, which will be held on Friday the 8th of November in Barnes, southwest London. It's a 5-minute walk from Barnes Station, and there's also a free car parking place on site. So it's the best of both worlds. We will be preparing and planning for your best ever 2025, and you will leave with that vision and strategy for your next 12 months with a newfound sense of connection and focus. We will be harvesting your present and planting the seeds for a profitable and joyful 2025, allowing your business goals to bloom with ease. I'm very excited to be bringing the warmth of the season and all of those beautiful colours and everything we can learn from shedding what no longer serves us and preparing for spring. Embrace the seasons of change and join me on 8th of November to Dare Greatly in the Coaching Arena. Do not worry if you don't know anyone. I will ensure that you feel welcome from the moment you arrive until the moment you leave. I cannot wait to see you there, and grab the link now in the show notes. Hello and welcome to Women in the Coaching Arena podcast. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Jo Lott, a business mentor and ICF accredited coach, and I help coaches to build brilliant businesses. I know that when you prepare to enter the arena, there is fear, self-doubt, comparison, anxiety, uncertainty. You can tend to armour up and protect yourself from vulnerability. In this podcast, I'll be sharing honest, not hype, practical and emotional tools to support you to make the difference that you're here for. Dare greatly, you belong in this arena. Hello, welcome to the 48th episode of Women in the Coaching Arena. I am so glad you are here. Today I've done something which I very rarely do because I think this industry is drowning with people shouting about how much they're earning. So it's something I very rarely do. But I'm wanting to share an honest version of events because, again, I think that this topic is kind of sold like it's so easy and anyone can just step right out the gate and create an online course or group coaching program without really understanding what you really need in place to make that successful. So I'm excited to share that with you today. I am also launching a course about how to create a course or group coaching program. So I had a pre-sale deadline of the 7th of February, which was yesterday. So if you missed that, because I didn't give very much notice at all, then if you want to join today only, the podcast release date of 8th of February, you can retain that 30% pre-sale discount. The course will be launched on the 13th of March, so I'll be launching it later on in February. But if you want to jump in now, I would love to have your feedback in return for that 30% discount as I create the course this month, because it's really important, as I'll talk about today, to really take into account your ideal client's feedback throughout your entire business building journey. So if you're interested, do drop me an email, joanna@joannalottcoaching.com. That's Joanna with an A and Lott with 2 T's, joannalottcoaching.com. And I will get back to you with the details and you can let me know if you want to join. So let's talk about my journey to earning 160,000 from my course over the last 2 years. And it starts where most new coaches start, which was coming into this world of coaching and then seeing someone have this big launch into their digital course and me thinking, wow, I could do that. So I'm going to be earning millions of pounds and laying on the beach and having a wonderful time. And I see this a lot in nearly every single coach that I talk to, especially if they're earlier on in their journey. I want to launch a course or a group coaching program. And most of the time, they haven't really got the foundations that are needed to make that successful. That isn't to say it's not worth joining something, though, because I joined something 4.5 years ago. And I paid £2,000 at the time for a program on how to launch a course. And miraculously, 2.5 years later, I actually got my course over the line and now have earned 160,000 from that course. So do I regret buying the course? No, because I've had a huge return on investment. So it doesn't mean that that won't be useful to you at some time in the future. And where you are at in your business building journey, I always knew that I wanted to do group coaching. Like I always preferred it, which is unusual because I speak to most of my clients, and bearing in mind I am an ICF ACC coach, so I do know how to coach. But I've always absolutely adored group coaching right from the very beginning. That was where I got my energy. So I have created several courses in my business, including in lots of different niches. So I do think, depending on where you are at, who you're selling to, it can also be useful in selling to organizations. I have sold LinkedIn training, for example, into organizations, career change program into organizations. I also created a career clarity course for mums when I first started, because again, that was where I was at the time. And obviously now I have my course, which is the business of coaching. I have offer to market. I also have a new program, which I haven't actually announced yet, called Signature Solution, because I know so many people just want to nail their niche and create their signature coaching program without committing to a big program. So I have created tons of courses in a way that you've actually thought through to be able to get the best results. Like I honestly think a lot of the time people get more from being part of my group program than they would if I were talking it through one-on-one. Because when I have created the group program, I have methodically thought about starting with why they need to know this, leading into how they can do this, leading into what they need to do next. Whereas if I'm talking to someone one-on-one, it's not so easy to be that structured. So actually, it really does support that one-on-one and the feedback. So for example, in my program, people would watch that module and then they send me their thing and I give them feedback via video so they can really actively nail that thing and then move on to the next step. So that's why I decided to create my course, because there are huge knowledge gaps that it would take a really long time to fill. So let's move on to actually building the course and how you can get that thing over the line. So the challenges that I faced were actually prioritizing it. And so with this course I'm launching in March, why I'm pre-selling it is so I actually create it. So it's really hard as an entrepreneur, and you may be experiencing this, without any real accountability of like, no one's going to sack you if you don't meet your targets this month. So what often really helps is that external accountability. Sell the thing and then create it. And I think that is my strongest character trait, which is how I have built a successful business. I did exactly the same when I was launching a career book. I was nowhere near ready, but I put out, this is launching on the 29th of April, and therefore it launched on the 29th of April. The same with my business of coaching program. I sold 7 spaces before I even had a portal. So that was 2 years ago now. I'd already mapped out roughly what we'd be doing. And I shared with those who were joining that the modules would be released week on week so they didn't get overwhelmed. And then each week I created the content because I knew that there were 7 people the other end waiting for the content to unlock on a Sunday morning. So yes, for 12 weeks, I was logging it out every Saturday, creating the content for them. And doing that work and putting that time in has now generated 160,000 and made my life so much easier by being able to transfer my knowledge to so many people without me repeating the same thing again and again. You are also presenting that knowledge in a way that is thought through, with stories, with examples. You can spend years getting the perfect videos and the perfect course and then putting it out there and realizing that no one's bought it. So there's something extremely exciting about my Lott last minute method, which I call it, to literally get that thing out there. So let's move on to marketing strategies for launching the course. I launched my course with a 5-day challenge 2.5 years ago. It was an amazing experience, but it was also really intense. I took 4 months off social media and all marketing. after launching my program for the first time, because it was a lot. There is so many emails. There is showing up live every single day. There is so much involved in a launch. And I obviously at the time had no idea. Now I do know, and I'm super, super excited to be running my 5-day challenge to help you to get started with your group program at the end of this month. So do look out for that, because people made huge, huge progress in that 5-day challenge. And what I learned from the experience is to be so organized, to have all of the emails scheduled for those days, rather than what I was doing at the time, going live whilst then trying to type an email afterwards and before. And I just wasn't organized enough to make it manageable for me. So my lesson is to allow a lot of time and a lot of prep for your promotion. So usually you are going to need something like a 5-day challenge, or you might get away with a webinar. Essentially, you need something that helps people to take a step forward, gain an insight, get excited about what you're going to help them to do. And then they can either take those learnings and go off and do it on their own, or they know that they need more help to really, really get this thing over the line, and then they will sign up with you. What events do is build huge trust and huge connection with you. So it's really hard to launch something without having some way of people stepping towards you and getting to know you. And that is why most coaches don't successfully launch their group program, because there are a lot of moving pieces, and it's really easy to underestimate the amount of work involved and the amount of fear that comes up. So allow yourself lots and lots of time and plan it out. And that is what we're going to be doing in the program, is really setting those dates so you can effectively use that 6-week to 2-month window of like, this is when I'm launching my thing, and these are the steps I'm going to take. And even if you aren't ready to launch right away, you can follow those steps at any point at all, just like I did when I brought a program, and I go back into it every single time I do another launch as well. So I've already talked about some lessons when I was reflecting about my journey, but here are the key lessons I learned. So lesson 1 is value over volume. So focusing on one core course is way better than selling as many courses as possible. I have brought in all of that income from one digital course. So you don't need to create a course on this and a course on that. The more you try and create, the less you will sell, because you're so busy in creation mode, and you're probably underestimating how much time and energy it takes to sell that thing. Lesson 2 is to focus on authentic marketing. So people might not be ready to buy your thing right now. And the more you can embrace that, the more your business will grow. I had somebody who joined my program in the last few months who did my 5-day challenge 2.5 years ago. So rather than think, oh, that failed, no one signed up, or like one person signed up, just focus on you showed up, and you feeding into that value bank will come back to you in the end. So just keep focusing on giving value, being the most amazing person you can, and know that every single time that will come back to you. You need to trust in that. As an entrepreneur, that needs to be your biggest skill, to trust. So we need to learn to, yes, give a deadline. Yes, try and encourage them to take action if that's right for them, but also know that everyone has their own internal deadlines. And that's been a great lesson to me in running an evergreen group program, which is the type of program I run currently, in that we don't always need hard deadlines. Sometimes people will just buy. So it's going to be interesting for me, after having a less launch-based program, to launch this new program in March, to see how that feels, because I think that launch is really intense when it's a closed program and you either join then or you don't join at all, which is the type of program I'm going to be launching in March. And so therefore it can feel really stressful, because currently I can think that's fine if they're not ready now, they can join next month. Whereas with this type of program that I'm going to be trialing, because I think it might be too much to have 2 ongoing evergreen group programs, it will be interesting to see how that balance works. And I'm really, really excited to try a different way and just test it, just to see if I enjoy it and what I learn from the experience. Lesson 3 is feedback and iteration. I am changing my program all the time. As you'll know, if you're inside the program, we have just taken on a coach mentor who I'm so excited to work with to really support me in that more strategic overview, because I'm a very understanding, loving type of person, especially for my clients, because I really do know where they're at. And so I'm excited that Jackie, my new coach mentor, is a very challenging and direct type of person. So I'm super excited that I can provide the love and the care, that I get it and I know where they're at, and she can provide the challenge and the support, because don't get me wrong, she's an amazingly supportive person and coach. But to really think, okay, what was difficult about doing this? That different dimension of targets for each person, of like, this is your target for nailing your niche, this is your target for your offer. So that real strong accountability, which is something that I've learned, because I think what we all do as coaches is create exactly what I wish I had. I am constantly seeking that loving, nurturing, yet challenging space. And I don't know if I've really found it yet, to be honest, which is why I am so obsessed by creating for people what I wish I had myself. So lesson 4, scaling the business. So how can you hold more people in that container? So I started the program initially when it wasn't a digital course. I was presenting live each week with 2 people. And then the next time when I did create it as a digital course, I had 7 people. Now I probably have 25 current clients in my program to date. So it's taking a different approach, but knowing that that has added to the experience, and it's not something to fear, and it's something to just get more strategic with, which is exactly what I've done by ensuring that each person has goals. Each person is spoken to personally every single week to see where they're at, to see what their challenges are, to really put those systems and processes in place so you can scale. And so I now know that I can still deeply serve in a container, that they will get an amazing experience. So I think when it comes to scaling, it's about checking on your systems, checking if you've got that right support and hiring it if not, making sure that you have as many processes in place as possible so people get the best experience. We have moved to Slack this week from Facebook. So again, that's another change in me scaling and growing my program. So now someone can say, here's what my plan is in an accountability channel. And then it's really easy for me and my mentor coach to say, how did you get on with that? It also allows voice messaging with me, sharing documents with me. So versus emailing people back and forth, this way we actually get to chat back and forth as and when they need it. So I'm so excited at the deepened relationships it's created for me and my clients. And I can't wait to continue to make this the best program out there. Okay, moving on to actionable tips so you can do this. So without sounding like a broken record, niching is even more important in group programs, because to get that bond, people need to be with people the same as them with that same shared goal. To create your content, you need to have people with that shared goal. Creating compelling content. I've looked at some people's courses who have asked for my help, and they've had so many hours worth of content and like an hour-long video, for example, and people just won't watch an hour-long video. I'm aiming for 3 to 4 minutes per video and really breaking down those topics to help people to actually do something so they implement, again, which is why I love the setup that I have, where they have to send me their niche or send me their offer. So every single step of the way, they are getting feedback, which then helps them be excited to go on to the next lesson. So how can you build in that accountability and that excitement to take the next step? Marketing your course, like I mentioned earlier, it takes more than just a few social media posts to launch a group program. It takes an actual launch, like a 6-week process to really get that thing off the ground. Again, there are other ways depending on how warm your audience is. And in the program I'm launching, I'm going to be encouraging people to launch that program within the first 4 weeks of us working together. Again, you don't have to do that, but it is a really, really good option. So there will be a way of getting that thing out there really quickly and then going on to bigger launches later down the line. So let me summarize today's episode. First, I talked about my journey to 160K, creating my own group program. The key lessons I shared were value over volume. So focus on one course rather than create many courses. Lesson 2, authentic marketing and patience. Don't beat yourself up. If your first launch isn't successful, know that those people may come back and you will have made a massive difference in their life, whether they bought your program or not. Lesson 3, feedback and iteration. Always be prepared to listen, to keep improving, to notice where people are getting stuck, and to provide accountability if possible, depending on how you are creating your program. And lesson 4, scaling the business, how you can get to that place where you can safely know that you can take on more clients and still give an amazing service and amazing results. I hope this podcast was helpful if you have been thinking about creating an online course or group program. And if you would like my guidance to do that, do jump in today if you want the pre-launch rate at 30% off. And I will be officially launching it later in March. I am so excited to help more women in particular to make more money in less time, because most of us women are busy caring for children or parents or someone else other than themselves. And I am so grateful for the opportunity to have created my own digital course that I run as a group program and change a lot of people's lives. Like, I have a massive, massive goal of helping 1 million people be happier. And my best way of achieving that is to help as many coaches as I can to help as many people as they can. So thank you for listening. If you want to join, do email me, joanna@joannalottcoaching.com, or I will put a link in the show notes. And like I say at the end of every episode, trust yourself, believe in yourself, and be the wise gardener who keeps on watering the seed. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Women in the Coaching Arena. I have a mass of free resources on my website, joannalottcoaching.com. That's Joanna with an A and Lott with 2 T's, joannalottcoaching.com. And I'll also put links in the show notes below. Let me know if you found this episode useful, share it with a friend, and leave me a review, and I will personally thank you for that. Remember to trust yourself, believe in yourself, and be the wise gardener who keeps on watering the seed. Get into the arena, dare greatly, and try.